toy guns, yo-yos, and a school that banned Pokemon. Here are the 10 weirdest reasons kids' toys were banned in school, Part 2. Number 10. Toy guns and dodgeball. Our videos have always said that toy guns aren't the best toys. We could do with less of them, and some are in fact dangerous. But not all toy guns are bad. Some make bubbles or produce sounds and lights. It can be an exciting toy for kids to play with themselves while also using their imagination to create the weirdest scenario. On the other hand, dodgeball is a game of dodging balls. The idea is to get out of the way while the balls are thrown at you. Balls used for this game are usually soft and not as hard hitting as some other balls like basketball or football. So, when Fearless Leader 85, a Redditor, complained about his school banning dodgeball and toy guns, we were surprised. According to them, the school was located in a rural area. Also, the high schoolers were relatively older, so some of them brought knives and guns to school in their trucks upon returning home from their hunting trips the night before. But everything changed after the Columbine incident, which involved high schoolers going on a shooting spree at school. The school frowned on students bringing guns in their cars, but like that wasn't enough, dodgeball and toy guns were banned for promoting violence. So we can understand not allowing toy guns, but what harm could you cause with a dodgeball? The school started to relax their rules as the years passed, and it allowed students to play dodgeball again. It sounds a little silly that they outlawed a toy for no other reason than perceived violence that wasn't even there in the first place. Number 9. Yo-yos. Yo-yos have been popular for many years. The toy is made with 2 discs, an axle, and a string wound about the axle. Anyway, yo-yos aren't a new toy. Research shows that they've been around since 500 BC, which is a long time ago. While everyone looked at yo-yos and saw a child's plaything, a Redditor explained that his school saw a fighting weapon instead. Then he was caught one day, and a teacher cut the string to his yo-yo. From then on, the toy was not allowed in school, and everyone just had to look for a new way to have fun. There were no incidents caused by the toy, a teacher just didn't like it. Sounds like a pretty unfair deal to me. Number 8. Pokemon. Seminole Suffocation shared his story on Reddit about how a school, Indian Rocks Christian School, which he attended from pre-kindergarten to 12th grade, banned all things Pokemon. It didn't matter if it was a toy, card set, shirts, or lunchboxes with Pokemon art. During the late 90s and early 2000s, Pokemon was all the rage, and kids just wanted to be a part of something cool. The reason for the ban was that Pokemon was distracting the little kids from focusing on their schoolwork. If that was the end of it, it might have made some sense. But they went on to add that Pokemon was evil because it was teaching you to catch monsters and fight with them. Let's just say not many parents liked it when the school said Pokemon and witchcraft went together. Talk about a back-breaking stretch. Number 7. Fun. Every kid's game involves standing still, running, throwing, or hopping. Whether you're playing tag or double dutch or cops and robbers, you had to do one or several of those movements. But the Redditor, Shed Boats Shed's Catholic School, couldn't be bothered. Instead, they banned all forms of play that had running, standing, or throwing. The only thing kids were allowed to do during the break was eat, walk, and talk. Once the Redditor tried to play hopscotch and was sent to detention for defacing school property. Instead, they used chalk, which could be wiped off more easily. Like that wasn't bad enough, talking during mealtime was frowned upon, and you could get a stern telling off. If you didn't eat your meals, you'd also get verbally spanked. The school also didn't allow students to shorten each other's names or use nicknames. This sounds like some crazy, wicked school authority. Number 6. Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies were famous back in the day among girls, and many had more than one of the dolls. In Reddit, a user named Huomi narrated how the girls in 5th and 6th grade brought in some Beanie Babies to school every day. At first, no one bothered about the toys. Instead, the girls just let them sit on their desks without getting distracted from schoolwork. So all was right with the world. But that didn't last long because competition soon set in. One day, a random girl in the class decided to bring in a little more Beanie Babies than the rest of the class. She just had to show off. The other girls got the cue and returned with even more of their Beanie Babies in subsequent days. Soon it turned into an all-out war until tons of Beanie Babies were stacked on each other's table, cutting off the board's view. Let's just say the school wasn't too keen on the trend. Number 5. Comics. Almost every child has one thing they're good at. Whether it's singing, sports, art, or technical know-how, they sometimes have the talent with any sort of training. Often, adults see it as their job to nurture these talents. But that's not always the case. The story of this Redditor is about a friend who got suspended for the whole school year. You might think he did something really bad to deserve that level of punishment, but his only crime was drawing a comic book with a bomb in it. And no, it did not look like the real thing. It was very cartoonish, like something you'll find in Mario or Sonic. A teacher found the strip and showed it to the principal, who was very cross and had no choice but to suspend the boy for a whole year. Apparently, it was a crime to be creative in that school. Heaven forbid other kids see it and start being creative with their talents. Tip for every parent: make sure your kid's school has the capacity to nurture their talents. Number 4, Pop-Tops. Children are the most creative when it comes to inventing toys, but sometimes these toys get cut at school. For example, Eugene's Blue Jeans, a Reddit user, shared his high school experience, where he and his friends used the Pop-Tops from soda cans as a toy. The toy came about when someone discovered that removing the piece from the can and wedging it between your fingers made for good sport. So you had to flick it really hard, and the Pop-Top went sailing a long distance. Kids did what kids do best: start a toy war. Soon, huge Pop-Top battles were going on around the school, and students were in detention for having Pop-Tops on them. When asked how far the toys could fly, Eugene's Blue Jeans replied that good shooters could reach 84 feet, or the length of a high school basketball court. So while the game sounds like a ton of fun, it was sad for the school to shut it down, but it sure saved several kids from injuries. Number 3, Stationaries. A Redditor once shared a story of their high school banning stationaries because kids could play with them. It didn't matter if those things were needed, the school axed them. For instance, when kids won't stop trying to shoot and stick paper clips into the ceiling, the school clamped down on it. Anyone found with one could get detention or suspension. Then rubber bands came in fashion. Well, we all know how this one goes. Kids started shooting the bands at one another, and the school went ban, ban, ban again. Finally, trapper keepers came into vogue, and kids tried to outdo each other to the best ones. This was just petty on the school's part because there was no way for kids to play with this stationery. They just didn't like that students were interested in something else, so even that was banned. Really? Come on! Number 2, Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering, MTG, is a tabletop card game with cards that you collect and trade. The game is like Dungeons & Dragons, where you have someone who tells the story. Only in MTG, they're called Planeswalker. To defeat opponents, you have to cast spells and attack them until their life total falls from 20 to 0. While it sounds like a fun game, schools have never loved card collecting or trading games. So when a Reddit user, Trident042, was in middle school, they learned about Heartbreak for the first time. He attended a rich private school, which banned MTG as the game became more popular. However, it was actually banned because some students started to steal from one another. Also, high schoolers were taking advantage of middle schoolers to trade them poor cards for better ones. And when our Redditor switched to a Catholic school in high school, he also discovered that the new school didn't take kindly to his game. They said the cards contained the devil. Oh man. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Number 1, Rubik's Cube. You'd think that a puzzle like the Rubik's Cube would be appreciated in school, but you'd be wrong. Redditor EF0867 claimed that all Rubik's puzzles were frowned upon in his high school because they took students' time away from schoolwork. It was sometime around 1983, 1984 when those puzzles were most popular. Suffice to say, he wasn't too enthused when his cube was taken away for the whole school year. Puzzles make kids smarter, and this school definitely didn't get the memo. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.